Imagine this. The world is a chessboard, and its pieces are controlled by unpredictable players, leaders like Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump, and even tech magnates like Elon Musk, whose influence over advanced technologies could tip the balance. These are people with access to weapons of unimaginable power. In their hands lie decisions that could erase cities, ecosystems, and countless lives. If this global tension spirals into nuclear war, are you prepared to survive? Hello, I'm Julian, and welcome to Julian's Evolution, where we navigate the intersections of geopolitics, technology, and critical thinking. Today, we confront a topic as urgent as it is terrifying: surviving a nuclear war. This isn't about fear, it's about readiness. I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll have actionable strategies to protect yourself and your loved ones. Stick around, because the final insight could change how you think about survival. The global political climate is fragile. From the war in Ukraine to escalating tensions in the South China Sea, these conflicts are overseen by individuals whose stability and intentions are frequently questioned. Leaders like Putin and Kim Jong-un, armed with nuclear arsenals, project power through the threat of annihilation. Meanwhile, the growing militarization of technology introduces figures like Elon Musk into the equation, where advanced AI could inadvertently heighten risks. The question isn't just what if, but when. If the unthinkable happens, knowledge becomes your most vital resource. Would you know where to seek shelter, what to carry, or how to navigate a post-apocalyptic world? Let's start with nuclear shelters, your first line of defense against radiation. After a nuclear blast, fallout spreads like invisible poison, and your survival depends on shielding. A DIY shelter doesn't need to be elaborate, but it must be effective. Think basements reinforced with concrete sandbags, or even stacks of books to block radiation. The key is creating barriers that absorb radioactive particles. If you lack a basement, identify windowless rooms in your home's interior. Place heavy materials like furniture or dirt-filled containers between you and the outside. Even small steps can increase your chances. Remember, the goal is to minimize exposure during the first 48 hours when radiation levels are most lethal. If you're watching this at home, consider this. What's the safest spot in your house? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your shelter must also sustain you. Stock at least 2 weeks of supplies, as radiation decays significantly after 14 days. Clean water is essential, stored in sealed containers. Pack non-perishable food, a hand crank radio, a flashlight with extra batteries, and first aid essentials. These aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. Don't forget personal comfort items like blankets and family photos to maintain morale during isolation. Next, let's talk about emergency kits. A nuclear-specific kit should include potassium iodide tablets to protect your thyroid from radioactive iodine. Add dust masks, gloves, and plastic sheeting to block contamination. But survival isn't just about physical tools, it's about adaptability. Ask yourself, if you had to leave your home right now, what's the one thing you'd grab? Leave your answer below. During the blast itself, split-second decisions save lives. The moment you see a flash, don't look. Move to cover immediately. Lie flat on the ground, hands protecting your head. Shockwaves travel faster than sound, meaning they hit before you hear them. After the initial event, seek shelter indoors, preferably underground or in the middle of a solid building. Block ventilation systems to prevent radioactive dust from entering. Once inside, stay put. The first 24 hours are critical as radiation peaks. Use a radio to monitor updates from emergency services. When authorities signal that it's safe to move, prioritize finding uncontaminated water sources and additional supplies. But don't rush. Exposure too soon can be fatal. Survival demands patience and discipline. Finally, consider the long-term challenges. In a post-apocalyptic world, cooperation becomes currency. Communities that pool resources and skills are more likely to endure. Learn survival basics, like water filtration, first aid, and food cultivation. Bartering skills or items like medicines could become vital. Reflect for a moment. What would you offer in such a world? Survival isn't just physical, it's social and psychological. We've just scratched the surface. But the insights ahead will dive deeper into strategies that could mean the difference between life and death. Stay with me as we uncover the final, most important survival strategy. Surviving a nuclear event isn't just about preparation. It's about staying calm and making calculated decisions in the chaos. Imagine the days and weeks following an explosion. Supplies dwindle, fear spreads, and the landscape is unrecognizable. In this new reality, the rules of survival are rewritten. Understanding these rules is the difference between hope and despair. One of the most overlooked aspects of survival is dealing with contamination. Fallout doesn't just settle on the ground, it clings to clothing, skin, and hair. If you've been exposed, removing outer layers of clothing can eliminate up to 90% of radioactive particles. Seal contaminated items in plastic bags and wash exposed skin thoroughly with soap and lukewarm water. Have you ever thought about how you'd handle decontamination? It's a critical step often ignored in popular survival advice. Accessing clean water is another challenge. Fallout can contaminate water supplies, rendering them toxic. Boiling water does not remove radioactive particles, it only kills bacteria. Instead, rely on stored water or use portable filtration systems designed to handle nuclear contaminants. If you're outdoors, rainwater collected after the first rainfall post-blast may be safe, but proceed with caution. Knowing how to find or create safe water sources could save your life. Food security is equally vital. Avoid consuming food or liquids exposed to fallout, especially anything left uncovered outdoors. Stockpile non-perishable items like canned goods, rice, and dried beans. These have long shelf lives and are less likely to be contaminated. As weeks turn into months, consider growing your own food. Seeds are lightweight, easy to store, and can provide sustainable nutrition in the long term. Now let's discuss mobility. In the aftermath of a blast, staying put is often safer than moving, but that isn't always an option. Evacuating requires planning. Know your routes, avoid areas of heavy fallout, and prioritize destinations with reliable resources. Maps, compasses, and even paper backups of critical information can be lifesavers when modern technology fails. What's your plan if you had to leave your home right now? Share your ideas in the comments. Emotional resilience is often underestimated in survival scenarios. In the face of isolation, despair, or conflict, maintaining mental strength is essential. Build routines, set small goals, and if possible, maintain human connections. Even in the darkest times, hope can be a powerful tool. Think about what you'd cling to for motivation. Your answer could inspire others, so drop it in the comments below. The final and most important survival strategy is community. Alone, our resources and skills are limited. Together, we can pool knowledge, share burdens, and rebuild. Forming alliances or joining groups increases your chances of accessing food, water, and security. But be cautious. Trust must be earned in such conditions. Would you be willing to lead a group, or would you prefer to follow? Reflect on your role in this scenario. As we wrap up, let's revisit the key takeaways. Build a shelter to shield against radiation, prepare a comprehensive emergency kit, master skills like decontamination and water purification, and never underestimate the power of community. These are the cornerstones of survival. But remember, survival isn't just about making it through the next day, it's about preserving what makes life worth living. If you've watched this far, thank you for being part of this important conversation. Let me know in the comments. What's the one thing you learned today that surprised you the most? And if you haven't already, subscribe to Julian's Evolution. By doing so, you're joining a community of thinkers ready to face the challenges of our world. Before you go, check out these other videos on the screen for deeper dives into global crises and survival strategies. Together, we'll stay informed, prepared, and empowered. I'm Julian, and this is Julian's Evolution. See you in the next video.